Welcome back everyone, and welcome to our fifth video in the Intro to Programming portion. So in this video we're going to cover something called arrays. An array is a data structure. So a data structure is an object encoding that is used to store data that has been collected. So the idea of coding in general is that a good data structure plus a good algorithm is everything that you need in order to make a program. So there's a lot of good books. One of the most famous ones is Data Structures plus Algorithms equals Programs, and that is absolutely true. So our third section of this entire portion, everything that starts with a 3 is everything that's going to be data structures oriented. This will be the only data structure that we cover between now and when we get to the third section of this channel. So a quick introduction to what data structures are. A data structure can add, it can access, it can search, and it can delete data within its own structure. Today we'll be covering the easiest data structure around. It is called the array. So an array is a data structure used to store many values of the same data type. That's important, of the same data type. Now here's an example of what it looks like. So here I created an array of type string, and I called it name array. Normally I can just create a string titled name array and I can set it to a single value. In this case I'm holding multiple values, all of the same type with the same name. I just use a different index, these are called indexes, to access and retrieve, delete, whatever you want to do with your data structure. So something about an array is that the size must be known at compile time. What that means is when I go to save, build, and run the project, the size must already be known. Now, here's just a little note at the bottom. There is a way to create an array with a user-defined size. That is a little bit more complicated, and we will cover that in a later video, but that is doable. So it's important, I want you guys to know that is possible, but we're going to cover that later. It's a little bit more complex. So, how to use an array? So, to create an array, you have to know the size during its creation. So here's an example of what it could look like. So I'm going to create an integer, and I'm going to call it name array size, and I'll set it to 5. So now my name array size variable equals the value of 5. Now this is how you create an array. So I'm going to create my array of type string, so it's going to hold multiple strings, and I'm going to call it name array. Now here I have an open brace. Over here I have a closed brace. Whatever value, whatever number I put within the brace is telling me the size of my array. So here's our example that we're using. So string name array is equal to size 5. So I'm creating 5 positions in my name array. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the open brace is where the total size of the array is created, and then you close it with the closed brace. Again, that is shown here. Open brace, name array size, and closed brace. Now to access, all of these are called indexes, index 0 through index 4. The way you access these items is it starts with index 0 and it ends with the total size, so in our case name array size, minus 1. So because we created it of size 5, the way you access the last item in this array would be size minus 1, which is 4. So that's how I access the last item in this array. So everything sits within the values of 0 to 4 because the total array is of size 5. So here's an example of how to create things. In the previous slide we showed that you can put a variable in here, or you can also just put an integer to actually hold its value. So this creates 5 strings and they're titled name array. Again, that's our example we have over here. And now this is how you create it of type integer. This creates 10 integers titled ages. And we did it for strings. We're going to create college courses. This creates 100 strings titled college courses. And I can do this with all the types. I can do it with a boolean. I can do it with an integer. I can do it with a double. I can do it with a character, a string, of course. And I don't want to confuse you guys too much, but you can also create of user-defined types, which we'll get to that later. But you can create an array of whatever you want. So here's an example, how to populate your array. So again, we're going to create the array. So string name array is 5. So now I want to populate my array. So I'm going to say name array 0, so referring to this 0th index here. I'm going to set it to Brian. So I'm going to put the name Brian, the string of Brian, inside index 0 of my name array. Now you can do this for all of them. Now here's another example. Name array 1 equals Dave. So the index of 1 equals Dave. Now let's do the same thing, but for some ages. So we're going to create an integer array titled ages. I'm going to create 10 positions. So that means I can access, all the values are stored between ages index 0 to ages index 9. So ages index 0 will make it equal to the value of 50. Now ages index 9, I'm going to do a little bit different for my assignment. Now I'm going to do the ages of index 0. So this value here is going to be swapped with the value of 50, because that's the value that we have in our ages index 0 is 50. So it's going to say 50 plus 50 equals 100, and it's going to take this entire number that this computed, which is 100, and it's going to assign it, because the equals operator reads right to left. It's going to assign the value of 100 into ages index 9. So index 0 equals 50. Index 9 will equal ages index 0, which is 50, plus 50. This whole value of 100 is being assigned to the index of 9. Here's how you call your array. So again, let's create an array, string name array, and we're going to set it to 5. So again, our name array is equal to 5 over here. We're going to set name array index 0 to Brian, and then we're going to print it out. Cout name array of index 0. So it's going to print out to the user the string Brian. Now let's do the same thing for an int array. Int ages, we're going to create 10 ages, and we're going to assign the 6th index to be the value of 101. And then we want to print out, so cout ages of index 6. Again, this is how we're going to end all of our PowerPoints. If you need help, please do not hesitate to ask for help. That's exactly what we're here for. It's the purpose of this channel. Now let's get into our coding portion. And because my computer was acting rather slow, I wanted to delete everything in here. So I'll do that for all of my follow-on projects, because if you saw from last video, things were getting extremely slow. So I want to make sure that doesn't happen anymore. So let's go to create a new project. This is 1.5 arrays. I can already tell my computer's being slow. This is not fun. And then let's create a source file. And source file, new source file, and we'll just go arrays.cpp. And what do we want to do in our Man, this is really slow. I'm not liking this at all. So let's include the input output library, and then let's int main is used to begin the program. And then within here, let's create an array of fixed size. Create an array of fixed size. And then let's ask user to populate the array. And then let's print out all the values in array. And then let's do an example of overwriting. Overwrite an array index. And then let's do print out new array variable. Oh, and let's make sure that we comment that out. And then let's end it with return the value of 0 to end the program. And let's see, maybe we can do some in the middle here to make it more interesting. Which index do you want to overwrite? Question mark. So we're going to ask the user to input that. So let's do this in order. First thing we want to do is include the library. It says pound include IO stream. and then we'll do using namespace standard, and then int main, open close curly braces, and then let's put all of this, we'll cut and we'll paste it inside our main, and let's end it with return 0. Alright, so let's create an array of fixed size. So let's create a string array and we'll call it array branches. So, and there are now 6 military branches. So that works for me, creating 6 of those. Now let's ask the user to populate. So cout, enter each branch of the military, press enter to input new branch. Yeah, I think that makes sense. No, we'll do it a little different. Press enter after each submission. And we'll do endl, and I spelled enter wrong. And we did endl. Now let's get the user to input all the positions. So get line, because I want them to be able to do spaces. cin, and we're going to assign it to array branches index 0. Now we are telling the user to input whatever gets inputted here. It's going to be saved into the first index of our array branches. So let's copy this here. Let's copy, and then let's paste, 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 and paste. So now we want them to save it to index 1, and then we want to save it to index 2, and then index 3, and then index 4, and then index 5. Again, because our total number of sizes is 6 here, the way we access it is from indexes 0 to index 5. And because it's giving me all these arrows, I'm just going to save it and build it just so we get all of these to disappear. I'm not going to run it, but I want those to get rid of themselves. Now let's print out all of this to the user. How do we do that? Let's have it do a bunch of cout statements, I guess. Cout. And it's still giving me these errors. Why is it doing that? So save, build. Does it want me to run it in order to get rid of all these? I just want all these red squigglies to go away because I know there's no errors. It just hasn't processed the using namespace standard yet. Man, this is running so slow. I'm not liking this at all. Enter each branch of the military, press enter after each submission. That's what it's asking me. I don't want to go through with this. I only wanted to run it because I wanted to get rid of all of these statements, but I guess I will just live with it. So I terminated that by pushing the X up here. And it gave me an exit value of 0 because it was not a normal exit. It did not get to my return 0 statement. It exited in the middle, so my return value was -1. Anyways, back to it. So let's print it out. So cout, and let's go the first branch branch you listed was, and then we're going to add array branches, branches of index 0, and then we'll just add a period, and then go endl. Now let's copy this and let's do it 5 more times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now let's go through and change all the indexes. So next I want to I want it to show all of them that we have in here. And so the first, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, and the sixth. The sixth branch you listed was, and it will display the, and this needs to be the value of 5. So we again have our total array size is 6, which means our indexes are 0 through 5. So it's going through, it's grabbing all 6 inputs from the user, storing them in their respective positions within the array, and now we're saying we're going to print back to the user. The first branch you listed was blank, second branch you listed was blank. And now let's, which index do you want to overwrite? So let's go cout which, I need to do my quotes, which index to overwrite? Question mark, end L, and line, and then let's do cin of index to overwrite. Now, that is not something that exists yet, and I want it to be an integer because I want them to input the index that they're going to overwrite. So index to overwrite, I have to make that variable in order to use it, and we're going to set it to 0. And so now this variable was created, so now it's going to allow me to use it down here. Which index do you want to overwrite? And it's going to be, I know what I'm going to input. It's going to be any number between 0 and 5. And then we're going to overwrite that exact index. So let's overwrite it by saying array branches, and whatever they input, which is going to be index to overwrite, and let's assign it to be this was overwritten. And we'll close that. And then let's print out the value of the new. So we want to cout, and I want to cout array branches, and I want it to be the index that we just overwrote, index to capital T overwrite. And we'll do our endl. So this should be everything. So we're going to ask the user to input these 6 military branches. We're then going to print out all the 6 military branches, and I want there to be a line space in the middle of this. So I could do two things. I could do /n. This is the new line character, so this would make it so that this first one will display in the new line, or I could do it just like this, cout endl. That's my new line. You could do either way. I want to show you guys how to do the new line character. So I'm putting this new line character before the t and the. So this will be inputted on a new line. I'm sorry. So it'll act the same as an additional endl. And the only reason is I just want some separation between my last input and my first output. So it's going to get the 6 inputs from the user. It's then going to print the 6 inputs back to the user. It's then going to ask the user which index to overwrite. And of course I want to also add a new line here. I don't want it to be one line after another. I want a space. Which index to overwrite. It's then going to save it in that index, and then it's going to overwrite that index and then print out the new one that we overwrote. So let's save it. Let's do our build, which is going to take a long time, and then we run it. This is incredibly slow. Still going. Okay, enter each branch of the military. Press enter after each submission. United States Marine Corps. And then I just pressed enter. So my next one I want to submit will go U.S. Army, U.S. Navy, U.S. Coast Guard, U.S. Air Force, and lastly being the United States Space Force with a bunch of exclamation points. Enter. Now it's going to print everything back to us. The first branch you listed was United States Marine Corps. The second branch was U.S. Army. The third branch, U.S. Navy. The fourth branch, U.S. Coast Guard. The fifth branch was U.S. Air Force. And the sixth branch was United States Marine Corps. Now, I want to overwrite Navy. So Navy sits at index 2 because Marine Corps sits at index 1. Marine Corps sits at index 0. It's the first item sits at index 0. U.S. Army sits at index 1. U.S. Navy sits at index 2. Which index do I want to overwrite? I want to overwrite the Navy. That sits at index 2. Enter. This was overwritten. So now we have overwritten the position in index 2 with this was overwritten, and then we printed that back to the user. This is how you create an array. This is how we create our array of a fixed size. The size has to be created at compile time. Now let's create it of size 16. That just shows that we're going to have 16 positions, but we're only going to be utilizing a couple of them, and that's okay. You don't have to utilize every single position in the array you create. It's a little bit of wasted space, but that can be done. Now I can also create it of size 1600. I can create it of size 16,000. All of the following will work. So let's just save it. We'll build it and we'll run it. Now we're running it and it's creating our array branches of size 16,000. So it's creating a lot of them, but we are only going to be using indexes 0 through 5 in our coding segment here. But when I do my index to be overwritten down here, I can do a whole number. I can do any number between 0 and 15,999. All of those have the possibility to be overwritten. So enter each branch. Press enter after each submission. Okay, USMC, US Army, US Navy, US Air Force, US Coast Guard, and US Space Force. So these are the following branches that we listed in order. Which one do I want to overwrite? Let's overwrite index 1000. At index 1000, it will now say this was overwritten. So I created a massive array, but I only utilized the first 6 indexes of it. So that would be how you create an array of a fixed size. This is how you populate your array. And this would be how you print your array values back to you. This would be how you overwrite. If you ever wanted to do it, you can overwrite here. And then this is our cout statement. And so that is pretty much all she wrote. So we have an example of inputting from the user input. We also have us hard coding how to overwrite a character. So that would be our adding right here. This is our accessing right here. This is us overriding right here. That would be our replace. And then you can also search within the data structure, but we will get to that when we get into our loops. So I hope this all makes sense for an array. Again, if you guys have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask. That's exactly what we're here for. Hope to see you guys in the next video.